So we're here at the Boca Raton Innovation Campus, which is the former IBM headquarters. This is the largest office campus in the state of Florida. Quarters to many great companies like Modernizing Medicine. Canon has a regional office here as well. Yeah. But this is one of the most modern, progressive, and innovative lifestyle campuses for companies to make their offices. And they've done such a phenomenal job of integrating art all throughout the building with our working artist studio space, one small component. So just here in this little cafe area, there's works by Dorothy Gillespie, which are on loan from the Boca Raton Museum, which is a very nice addition. It is an amenity, but they add to the cultural fabric and the layout and the direction that CP Group has in mind to make this a place where people can live, work, and play. They are working to add residential on to the campus as well. I'm an arts advocate, community builder, creative placemaker. We started a bunch of initiatives to integrate art and real estate to create platforms for artists to be able to showcase their artwork, get discovered, collect and sell. We were initially doing an art fair inside of luxury waterfront homes that were for sale, made only accessible via boat, called Art Fort Lauderdale, the art fair on the water, which is for independent artists not represented by a gallery. We got involved with the real estate board and then had brokers, developers, property managers, and the like saying, hey, could you do art in our commercial space? All the while that these talented artists that we were knowing and loving and building relationships with were asking us where our studio space is at, let alone affordable, let alone not in the worst part of town. Yeah. So thankfully, my business partner has a background in shopping center and retail management. He was a marketing executive for the Westfield Corporation. He had developed vacancy management strategies and solutions for malls, created the first commission-free art gallery in an underutilized portion of a food court in a mall. And we kind of put our thinking caps on. We saw all these for lease signs around us and, just knew that there must be a better way and a better option than having them sit vacant, not doing anybody any good. So we thought, what if there was 0 empty spaces, and what if we could make this a place for artists want to come to create here in South Florida, where we're based out of. And we've done that now with 32 spaces over the last 5 years. Now we're in 4 states. We've had 700 artists come through the program, and it really has changed hundreds of artists' lives now since the time's over. Thank you. So we have 19 studios here at our Boca Raton Innovation Campus location. It's really interesting that no 2 artists have ever had the same style. We are not the traditional type of art studio space program or residency that are traditionally very heavily juried. Generally, you need to have a long CV, an MFA, and know somebody to get into a bakehouse or a fountainhead. We, think art should be more inclusive and accessible. So we allow artists of any skill set and experience level, if they have work that they could show us, they're able to apply, state their intended use for the space. So like this artist who, is very experienced, oil painter, very talented. Incredible. She's, with somebody that could just be getting started and just exploring their creativity in different mediums. They come from different backgrounds and walks of life, which we find is a very interesting social experiment as well. Absolutely. And it's been a really cool program to pair people of these different backgrounds and skill levels and experiences together and watch the collaboration and watch the friendships come out of those. I was very heavily inspired by my early trips to Wynwood back in 2014 and 2015. And I just couldn't get enough of this Wynwood thing and all of the art activations, the studios, the galleries, the restaurants, the events, and so on and so forth. I'm from Broward County, born and raised, and I was moving to downtown Fort Lauderdale at that time. We didn't really have so much of it going on. I was trying to explore. I was finding things, but there wasn't really anybody doing anything with it from our editorial coverage perspective. So I started highlighting the arts and culture through a social movement I started called Choose 954 to cultivate culture and community in Broward specifically. And I just immersed myself in the community and wanted to be a megaphone for these talented artists and creatives. And throughout that experience, it's given me more in terms of enrichment and fulfillment and a life I never would have imagined when I set out with my cell phone and the hashtag to show artists. It's everything. I'm a community builder first and foremost. In 2016, I actually started off as a food blogger. Food blogging pivoted to arts and culture blogging, which encompasses food, and just, really wanted to be a megaphone and to highlight and support these talented artists and creatives that I was, building these relationships with. And I love visual storytelling. I love, the power of social media when it's used for good. Um, so I'm glad to tell these stories, do the podcast with the artists, post and repost their content, and all of that. All of those opportunities are all included with the rent. We don't charge extra. The press has been very generous to us. We don't charge extra when the press reaches out and wants to put an artist on a cover of a magazine or on TV. So this is actually one of our teaching artists. This is Michelle Sherman of I Heard You Can Draw. She's actually a pretty noteworthy artist herself who has published multiple books, and captured many noteworthy scenes in Boca Raton here, Meisner Park, the hotel, the resort, so on and so forth. But she loves teaching. She was a teacher in the school system, and she wanted to focus on arts and culture and needed a space to do that. You can't always have all these kids coming to your house. So we actually, when we were given the opportunity to expand this current space we're in, we were able to give her more space so she could have, probably a dozen people here, offer classes, not just for kids, but a lot of it is geared towards kids. She's a great success story as another former teacher, and she's blowing up not only on social media, but now she's getting more people out to the studio. Her work's grown tremendously since she's joined. So we're glad to, give the space and let the magic happen as a result of that. Marcel Brewer's the architect. It was Brutalist Architecture, one of the few remaining. And it was vacant for quite a few years after IBM vacated it. And CP Group, Crocker Partners, they had the vision and the foresight to make it this like lifestyle campus that, took a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of investment, but eventually paved the way for the rezoning to allow residential. But this is, not your average office complex where there's like Zen garden, string lights, events, waterfall, a lot of different features. And this is like a Zen garden for people to have lunch and relax, take their break. They did, and it did not look like this, 5 months ago, 5 minutes ago. If we go through here, so being the largest office complex in the state, they have miles and miles of hallway. And one of the things that people always find interesting, they actually have the Guinness Book World Record for the longest hallway in the Western Hemisphere, 907 feet. But the other thing that it really lends itself well for are, miles of hallways that were blank. And when we were one of the first tenants to help them kick off the Art on Brick Walls program, now they have a curator and they have 18 exhibits that give opportunities to groups like the Palm Beach Watercolor Society, Lynn University, Florida Atlantic University, other art skills and organizations. They've done a really great job. This was the site that the PC was invented, and this was the site where Control Alt Delete was invented. They honor the heritage, and then even really the architecture. There's very little brutalist architecture left. Exactly. So when you see the outside of the building, it really is a special place. And then they've hosted TED Talks here, tech innovation, pitch nights, a lot of really cool events. So I certainly encourage people to check out the Boca Raton Innovation Campus. You can look them up. And then if you're in the area and you're coming by, feel free to check us out. And from what I understand, this is the first kind of like autonomous self-service, with a QR code and an app little store. So if you need stuff, for your break or you forgot lunch or a drink, or they have little medicine.
And then so it's all just sensors. It's no.
And then there's an app.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's no cashier. You just go in, you walk out.
Correct.
Beautiful.
This is an autonomous vehicle company, so they're working on technology guidance that allows more autonomy. So there's vehicles that loop the building that don't have drivers. You're starting to see this more in like San Francisco and Austin. And these guys are kind of at the forefront of the technology here. This is zoned for office. They have so much empty parking space. They have pushed for rezoning to add residential, and in the coming years there will be people, living and working here. Not maybe in this particular building, it'll be over there, but on the campus, which is cool. Tri-rails right there. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to build it, but it's going to be more modern than a lot of people that are considering office to residential conversion projects. You have to redo all the plumbing, which is not practical. It's actually not very cost effective. That's why you're not seeing as many projects as you would think. But these guys are pretty innovative. CP Group is one of the biggest developers, and expect many more cool things to come from CP Group. We're forever grateful for their support. They've been great partners. So tough for artists to get into a gallery. Very, very few will ever get into a gallery. And then if you have a studio, if you can get a studio, it's generally like just you, and it's generally not in the best part of town because that's where the rent is cheap in the warehouse. So this is kind of like uh, it's a studio and a gallery combined and a co-op. A lot of artists I went to art school liken it to being back like they're in college. But if you turn to your partner and say, hey, what do you think about this piece? And they say, oh, honey, that's nice. But when you turn to, somebody that's been painting for 40 years, yeah. Exactly. Or what would have you thought about this? Have you tried that? Have you used oil? Have you used this material, or so on and so forth? So we love putting the artists together and just watching their work unfold and develop and evolve. So we've been here for over 2.5 years, and think we're going to be hopefully a permanent addition. So this is Lynn University from their College of Art and Design, and painting skateboard decks has become a medium. This is a lot better than a plain old deck. Obviously. This is actually pretty cool.
It's fascinating. It's incredible.
And we love talking about the work. We love raising awareness about the work and the process. Because thankfully the press has been very good to us, but not everybody's picking up the paper every day. Not everybody saw that TV story that day. So we love sharing. We welcome the public in. A lot of art spaces are only open to the public 1 or 2 days a year.
Yeah.
We're open daily in this Boca Raton location that you have your studio in. We have 19 artists here. So if you come in on any day, there will probably be 3, 4, 5 artists here, which is pretty cool. And if you come on open studios, generally you'll find a little more. We're working to really, through our creative placemaking endeavors, change the way that people view and interact with space. Because it does have different purposes. It does have different life. And this space, instead of it being vacant, now it's doing something positive for the community. Zero empty spaces truly have changed hundreds of artists' lives thousands of times over, and we're going to continue doing it because we love this work. It's very rewarding and fulfilling. So if you know an artist that's looking for space, you have them log on to our website. This space is full at the moment, but they could submit an application, get added to the waiting list. If you happen to know a commercial real estate developer, property owner, or somebody in local government, there really is no need for there to be empty space in 2025. We make it super easy for anybody, for the artists to get involved, apply, pay, show up and paint. And we make it super easy for the properties. We serve as one point of contact, take care of everything, get positive press when you couldn't pay a public relations agency to generate press for a closed door. And closed doors don't generate positive press. So, if you find any interest in this, log on to our website at zeroemptyspaces.com, spelled out. Our social media as well, Zero Empty Spaces. And we, hope you find this interesting and hope to see you at a future event.